Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have the team of White Rock Running Co-op today. How's everybody doing? Chet, tell me how you're doing.
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Andy.
Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Craig.
I'm doing great. Doing really well.
Welcome. And Vivian.
It's Sunday, so I'm happy.
I always love my Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Friday just because I have to work, but it's done. Saturday and Sunday is great. But Andy is retired, so every day is like a Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't matter. So must be nice.
That's true. It is.
So we came together today because I thought, and the team thought it would be really fun to talk a little bit about White Rock Running Co-op or the Co-op or WRRC, however you see us, and just talk a little bit about the club itself. And before I do, though, I want to try to get a little bit of background of each so you guys know, call it leadership team or the team that kind of runs the behind the scenes, runs in front of the scenes, and all of those kinds of things. And so what we'll do is we'll get a little bit of background of each, and then we'll go into when we run, what we're excited about, and all of those kinds of things. And so I'm going to put somebody on the spot. Chet, let's get you going.
All right. So I guess, I'm Chet. I grew up in the Bay Area, just outside San Francisco. And then I moved down to Los Angeles for college, where I went to UCLA. I lived there for a few years, where I actually started running right after I graduated. And then just last year, I moved to Dallas. So 2 years after school, and then I've been here for about a year. And so I joined just shortly after I moved, and have been running with them, with the co-op ever since.
Awesome. And now, you've run a marathon before or no?
Yeah, I run 3.
Oh, you've run 3. Okay, great. Have you done a bunch of halves or?
No, I've only raced the marathon and a 5K distance.
That's crazy. I think I would start off with the half.
No, I started off with the marathon because my friend that I went to school with signed up for the Los Angeles Marathon. He said, "You want to do it?" And I was like, "Sure." And then so I just signed up, and then we did it together.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have done that. Just some friend talks you into doing something like that. And a lot of times we don't train properly and we just go run it. I've heard so many stories about that, but that's how we get into it. So that's
that was
awesome.
Kind of me. I did 2.5-month training, got my watch when I showed up. I was just all over the place. And then you just learn through each one how to do it.
I love it, Chet. I love it. And you show up a lot to both our Saturday runs and our Wednesday runs, right? Wednesday night. Yeah. Yeah. And look, I don't always see you guys, and I'm starting to see you more because I'm starting to show up more Saturday runs. Let's go with Vivian. Vivian, how are you?
I'm well.
Great. And I know that tell us a little bit about your quick hit journey when you got into running and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I started running on a treadmill when I was 18. A lot of girls probably do this where they run for weight loss, even though you're as thin as you can be. So that's how I got into running. And shortly after that, I started running half marathons. So I think I'm up to 5 half marathons.
Nice.
Similar to Chet, I got into it because a friend told me that she was doing it, so I did it. And that was her one and only race, never ran again. And I have continued to run.
Didn't you run your first marathon this year?
I did. I ran the Irving Marathon, which was exciting, though I was injured. And since then, I have remained injured.
I've heard a lot of those stories too, Vivian. So you just got to take care of yourself and you got to rest and do all the PT. And I think you are, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Craig.
Yeah. So I've always run just like a little bit for exercise, like 3-4 miles, here through most of my teenage years up till now. Did 1 half marathon in undergrad on 5 weeks of actually training and actually following a plan. And then it fell off, and did a couple more after undergrad. Then maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was visiting a friend in Louisville, and we were talking about the importance of setting like tangible goals for ourselves to always be working towards something like big. And I'd always wanted to do a marathon. So that conversation pushed me to sign up for, I think it was the Oklahoma City Marathon the following year. So that was like 6 or 7 months away at that time. Ended up getting injured. And this was like a month or 2 months into the training plan. So I was starting to get a little bit high miles on the Saturday runs. Anyways, fast forward a little bit, I moved to Dallas. I still hadn't run a marathon. So it was just like this major roadblock in my mind and my psyche. And so I signed up for the Dallas Marathon and found the White Rock Running Co-op, I think just through either Googling or looking on Facebook for running groups. And that was like absolutely key to actually get me literally across the finish line of my first marathon, which was this past December, the Dallas Marathon. And didn't know what I was going to do after. Was I going to continue running or what? But honestly, like the community and just the structure that running gives me, especially the community of White Rock Running Co-op, have be coming back like 2 or 3 times a week.
And I'm going to come back to each one of you because I think it's a good idea is talk a little bit about why WRRC. But before I do, welcome back, Andy. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Still great, despite being injured, but let's not talk about that.
I think that's part of the journey, but we're not talking about journeys today.
Yeah.
So that just happens to all of us. So tell us a little bit, just quick hit. I know we've heard it before, but not on this particular call.
For the executive summary, I guess it's I'm a late in life runner. I was 50, 60 pounds heavier than this. Used to hide my double chin behind a goatee beard. So I decided to run for fitness and healthfully, and I got into running and fundraising as a mechanism and a motivation tool. I did the typicals probably about 13, 14 years ago. I got into running like in my late 40s. I did a 10K and then I did a half. And then our first marathon was in London in 2011 through a charity, and which was great. We then moved to the US and I ran several more marathons, including Chicago, New York, Marine Corps, and a couple of other cool marathons. And kept running. I think I'm up to 15 marathons now in total. And to Dallas 3.5 years ago, which is how I fell in with the White Rock Running group. And we'll come into this for sure, but this group make it so easy to give back because it's given so much to me. So I took an hour out of my marathon time and managed to qualify for Boston. Never thought I'd ever do that. And this year I've finished up my 6 stars in Tokyo. So
nice.
That's my brief running history. 1 or 2 injuries here and there, a couple of surgeries, but here I am. When you're injured, it feels like you're writing a country and western song because everything goes to hell in a handbasket. But just recovering at the minute and looking forward to getting back, and kind of happy that I am injured when it's in the middle of the summer in Dallas. So that's my only
because if you're going to be injured, this is the time to be injured. And
this is the time. So
one of your injuries came from being on a horse. I know running was part of the injury, but then being on a horse, falling off or whatever. So
cross training can be dangerous. Be careful out there.
I'm so injured from rollerblading. So the lesson here is that we should not be doing anything other than running.
Yeah, Vivian.
Definitely not pickleball. No pickleball.
Definitely not. I thought about it. My job has a pickleball court. It's inside, and I've never tried it. And I thought maybe I should. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I could get injured pretty easily. But Vivian, quickly, how'd you get injured?
I started running when I was 18. So this injury that I've had, because I have 3, this injury I've had over 10 years is the IT band syndrome. And then from my race day, right before my race day and onwards, it has been shin splints. And then this rollerblading injury, unfortunately, all happened at once, is arthrogenic quad. So I banged at my knee so hard that my quad just stopped flexing or contracting. So it's better, but not perfect.
Yeah, it comes in 3s sometimes. Hopefully not. For you, it did, Vivian. So the other question, before I get to the other question, I want to mention that there are 2 other leaders within WRRC that aren't on today. So we have Nick, and he couldn't make it today. And we also have Josh, and he couldn't make it today either. So we'll make sure to get them on at some point. We'll probably do this podcast again and talk deeper about some other stuff. Just thought I would say that before we move forward. Quickly, I'm pretty interested in how you guys found WRRC and why it's so interesting. And I know Andy mentioned that, and then you guys slightly mentioned it, but I want to go a little bit more detail. And I want to go with Chet again. We'll just go around the room again, if you will, to kind of get a little bit deeper there.
Yeah, so I joined, as I mentioned earlier, about a year ago when I was looking to move to Dallas. I'd moved for a job at the time, and my previous boss had run with White Rock, and I told her that I just run a marathon and was just getting into running, and she was like, the best place to live for that in Dallas is White Rock. And she was like, I actually went to this run club a few times. You should go. It was near where I was living at the time, so she recommended I go there. And so I just showed up one Wednesday, and then after that I showed up a Saturday, and then just made it my habit, and it just really helped me meet people moving here. I didn't really know anyone moving here, and now I have this community that I see multiple times a week. So it's just something I look forward to every week now, and I can use it to train for a race and just see my friends.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, similar to Chet, like when I moved here, was looking for a group, found it on Facebook, came to a Wednesday night run. Was the first thing. But what really impacted me about that and why I continued to come back was after like 1 or 2 times of going to this Wednesday night run, I got invited to just hang out with people. I think Josh and Natalie both invited me to a these throwback band concert
Nice.
on Northern Greenville. I think it's the Granada Theater or something.
Yeah.
But this was like, I don't really know anybody, and they're already inviting me to hang out, which I really appreciated because, again, I
Pretty
just
awesome.
moved here, didn't know anybody.
One thing I love about Josh, man,
Yeah.
he and Natalie are just very much of a connector and just, hey, let's hang out. I love that. That's a great story. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's really it. Just having a group that is that welcoming and that open, and then being able to run next to the water. So for a long time, I was living in the Northeast and living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and loved running next to water there. There's the Charles River. And
Yeah.
so looking for as much of that as I could get coming here. So I obviously knew about White Rock Lake and wanted to run next to that as much as possible, which, given our name, we do pretty often.
We pretty much, that's all we do. We might meet at a taco place and then run to the lake.
Yeah.
And how did you find White Rock Running Co-op, and why do you keep coming?
I found the group probably over 5 years ago. I started following the group on Facebook, and I was one of those creepy people that just followed the group and never came until I moved from the Dallas Design District area over to Lakewood area, Greenville area, where I live now with my husband. And I thought that meeting point for WRRC is 4 minutes away. So that's how I got started. And I finished off my half marathon training with WRRC 2 years ago. So that's how long I've been with the group. It was my first time ever running with people. And I thought, why the heck would I run by myself ever again? So
Exactly.
Ever since then, running with the group, this group only specifically is my preferred way of running.
Yeah. I love this group. It's a lot of experienced runners. And if you're not extremely experienced, then you become pretty experienced, because then you just get to feed off some of those people that have been running for a long time, whether it's 5Ks, half marathons, and you have all kinds of really great people that can help you get through some of that as well. And hey, it's free.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing. Andy, how'd you find WRC and all of that?
Yeah, so I moved here with my family in 21, early summer, from Peoria, Illinois, of all places. I guess you better come from somewhere. So I literally found through Google and Facebook WRRC 2 days after I landed. I think we were still living in a hotel and I needed to go for a run on the Saturday. Luckily, I found WRRC almost the day that I got here in Dallas a few years ago. And I just, like everybody else has said, it's just, I used to call it the Cheers of the running world, which was funny when we went to dinner in Cheers in Boston that time. That was why I was
That was nice.
making a few jokes about that. But yeah, so, where everybody knows your name and you're welcome from day one. But I just remember showing up on Saturday, and there was about 50, 60 people going to run at 6:30 a.m. in the morning or something. And because there was quite a large group, one thing we'll touch on later is that we as runners, I think a lot of us focus around the marathon, but not everybody there does that. There's a great spectrum of people that just run for fun, maybe do 5-6K, maybe never do a race. Maybe they run 12, 13-minute miles, maybe they run work. So we have that in our group. But we have this spectrum of people where if it's 5K, 10K, half marathon, and yes, we kind of center around the marathon a little bit, but we have this huge spectrum. So I remember when I showed up, the speech that we always do is welcome new runners in there, and we ask them what they're looking for, how far, how fast. And I got paired with a group, and at that time, I was looking for about 18, 20 miles because I was deep into a schedule. They just paired me with a group that just happened to be doing 18, 20 miles. And not only did we touch the lake, I remember we ran down the Katy downtown and back. So I got to run in Dallas my first weekend here as a stranger with a bunch of people that I got to know really quickly. And it was just like instant engagement. Just like Vivian said, I don't know why you would want to run any other way unless you have to. Not just the safety aspect, just the camaraderie, and just 3 hours just fly by when you're running with people. It's amazing. So I thought, okay, I'm definitely doing this again. And the following weekend, we still do this occasionally, a bit less common now. It just so happened that the second weekend I met the group after this amazing experience on the first one, it was a Run My Hood, Nicole's house. And there was about, I don't know, rounded to 100 people. showed up at Nicole, who volunteered a house that Saturday morning, and we all did a potluck, so it's easy for the hosts, and they provide the house and the pool, and everybody brings everything else. And we went for a run around our neighborhood, and then we spent 3 hours in the pool just chilling out and hanging out. And I'm thinking, are you sure there's no subscription for this club? Because it's pretty amazing. So yeah, and from that point, as I say, I've just been hooked. As I mentioned, my 6-star journey hung up around qualifying for Boston. And I came to Dallas thinking I'm never going to do it. I'm going to get close. I'm going to get injured. I'm just never going to do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm running with dozens of people that just run Boston every year. And you think, and they're all telling me, you've got all the elements. You just need to sharpen up your training program. Let me help you. I credit WRRC with my last 3 majors, in particular qualifying for Boston. I took an hour out of my running time, and it's because if you meet in the group at 5 a.m. on a Tuesday, you show up. If you're running by yourself at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, you might get distracted on the way out, have an extra cup of coffee, cut the run short. But if you're running, so again, I've overstayed my welcome with this question, but I just fell in love with the group straight away, the people in it, really welcoming. Some of the things we do are just amazing. Almost any training program that you want to run, you'll find that somewhere on our group. And 4 or 5 years later, I fell into being an admin at some point, and it's just great to give back. One of the secrets of happiness in life is spending most of your life getting something that you really want and value, and then the minute that you get it, giving it away. And I think running knowledge and experience is one of those examples.
I was going to ask you another question, but I think you answered that around some of the runs and things like that. And we'll come back to you around the end part, because especially if we miss something around how you think. But what I do want to get to is the running schedule and how we meet. And one thing I do think that we should think about bringing back at some point is the Run My Hood, because Julie and team did an amazing job of bringing people together in a big way like that. And I think that really creates some bonding type of stuff. And I think there's some of that already going on Wednesdays nights, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And there's a lot of that going on, but to me, building community around running, but also creating friendships and things like that is what this group brings and has brought to me as well. I'll talk quickly about my quick journey there, just because I've been running in the DFW area for years, since basically 2014. And I started out with DRC for years and ran their club and things like that, but steered away from that over the last 1.5 years, 2 years. And I always saw Julie out there. It was Julie that was doing different things. I don't know, like for whatever reason, I was like, what is this WRC? My wife always knew. She keeps up with all the clubs and things like that. I do now, more so than I ever have. And I thought, why don't we go start running with them? And she's, yeah, let's do it. And so probably like almost a year ago, probably not quite a year, we just started running and then just being more consistent. Our Tuesday and Wednesday runs, we just jog over there from our house. So on Tuesday we go to the track, and then Wednesday we run over to the hill. So it's convenient, and then started building relationships with folks like you guys and others. So and then decided to get more engaged and involved. You guys asked me to, I think Andy and Nick or somebody asked me to be more of a leader or admin, or I don't know, whatever we're calling it, but just more involved. And so I have, and when you ask me to do something, I go all out, or I try to anyways. And I think that's important. And so I want this to be successful. And this group has been around since 2011 and really changed a lot of lives from a running standpoint and friendships, because you meet a lot of people that you might not normally. One thing I do want to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to go into each day, but I'm going to ask each person to talk about the days they go to and why it's so important. So we'll do that. And for me, I'll start it off. I go to the Tuesday, Wednesdays, Saturday runs. And so for me, Tuesday is really about the track workout. So we'll go out to Lake Highlands High School and do our own track workout. People just show up and you do your own thing. You can run with some folks from WRC, or you can just do your own thing. And we'll get together, take a picture afterwards. Sometimes before, I'll take some videos. And then we'll meet on Wednesday morning. We'll meet do some hills. What is that, Moss Haven Elementary? I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's the normal meeting place, yeah.
Yeah, and those are the ones I run at. And then Saturday, I try to, if I don't have a race or anything, then I'll do the WRC Saturday runs, to where it's a little bit longer, 7 miles. I think we put out a couple of maps and things like that on the main site, and somebody else can talk more about that. And you find some folks to run with, and a lot of times we collaborate with Pegasus, and they show up and we'll eat some tacos afterwards and things. And so those are the 3 I really focus on. Sometimes I'll do more or less, rarely less, but seem pretty consistent. I'm going to ask Craig to talk a little bit about kind of the ones you go to and then the ones that you really like and why and what it's about.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just say I keep on meaning to go to the Tuesday morning track and Wednesday morning Holy Hills. Haven't made it out yet, but I'm slowly shifting my schedule to where that's more in the realm of possibility. But like I said, what got me into the group was the Wednesday evening run. It's turned a social run mostly because we hang out afterwards, but honestly, the group hangs out after most of the runs. But anyway, Wednesday evening social run, we start from Lake House Bar and Grill at 7 p.m. year round. Right now it's a bit hot, but we still make it out there, still running, and then we'll just have an extra beer or two afterwards given the heat. But yeah, I try to make that as often as I possibly can. And then also really going to the Saturday morning run, which right now is at 6 a.m. and do my thing there, typically 6, 7, 8 miles or so at the moment.
I was there this Saturday and I think 4 or 5 people were just, Craig, we're going to go do this thing after this, watch the Cowboy game at 2 or 3, whenever it was. And all these people. So you're pretty well known in that crowd. So it was pretty cool to watch. I was impressed.
It's showing up. I didn't really try to be friends with people. I did, but it's just through proximity. You show up often enough and you start having conversations as you run. It's also a good way to make sure you're not running too fast and you get to know people. Yeah, it's always nice when those kinds of things happen.
Vivian, what about you? Which ones do you go to? I know you're a little injured right now, but you're still in the past have gone to a bunch, and do you like the best and stuff like that?
Yeah, Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings for the long run. So Wednesday is hill day. I know a common saying in the group is hills pay the bills. And I feel like adding those hills in my training made the biggest difference. For me personally, I remember running a race and I could see the pace group that I was with just slipping away from me as they were going over a steep incline highway ramp. I promised myself that would never happen to me again. And now every time I approach a hill, I think of WRRC and I fly past everyone else, and there's no better feeling. So there's a 5:20 a.m. loop, 4 miles. And I'll be honest, I sleep through that one, but I do make it through to the second loop at 6 a.m. and then a 2-mile cool down, which is always nice. And then I join for Saturdays with everyone else for a long run.
Yeah, did you ever find yourself having any tacos or anything, Vivian, on Saturdays? Or
Tacos always. Right after a Saturday run, the best part is everyone hangs out right after in the parking lot, just sweaty and talking, about running, but other things too. When you run with the same people over and over, you get to know each other, a little bit about everyone's lives, and you want to see how everyone's doing after the work week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's cool to see at the 6 a.m. run on Saturdays, when we're done, for the most part, Taco Joint doesn't open until 8. And so a lot of us are there 30 minutes, 20 minutes before. And so we're just hanging out in the parking lot. You know, this one guy, Scott Manis, yesterday, as a matter of fact, he brought all this water, right? And he was basically taking a shower right in the parking lot, pouring the water. I was like, what are you doing? And he's just taking a shower. And I was like, oh man, it's not working as well. And so he just poured it all over him. I don't know if he had soap or anything, but I was like, all right, well, he goes, I just don't like to smell bad. I was like, I don't like you smelling bad either. But it was interesting. A lot of people will just hang out there for sometimes an hour before they even go get tacos.
It's a sight to see the parking lot on a Saturday morning. You would think that we were at a farmer's market or something with everyone with their car trunks open for shade and towels on the ground and little benches to sit on. I ought to get one of those benches because I always end up on the floor.
Yeah, that's right. Super cheap. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, since you brought Scott Manis up, let me just pick on that as a random example, because we could mention one of 100 people that are in our group. But Scott, he's somebody that's been with the group since 2011, I think, forever. I think he's done maybe 50 marathons. I think he's decided that probably he should stop doing marathons fairly soon because it's chewing his knees up. Scott was somebody that I mentioned early on and somebody that was always game. If he came to run 16 and I mentioned I've got 20 on my plan, he'd go, I'll run 20 with you then. And then we'd end up with 4 or 5 other people and we'd end up knocking out 20 on a Saturday or something. But just as an example of this group and some of the fabulous people in it, I'm going to pick on Scott as one. When Scott found out that I was having a proper go at my BQ up in Glass City, right up by Detroit, just outside Toledo, Ohio, and he said, I need to do that state anyway. I'll come with you. So Scott actually came with me as like a travel buddy and gave me a whole bunch of coaching and experience and stuff right up until he told me that with a black trash can and a Gatorade, if you're a boy, you can have a porta potty right at the start line, right till the gun goes off. So that's one of my tips of the day, by the way, for the boys. But I didn't know that till then. And I qualified at Glass City, and I've got a whole bunch of photos of me and Scott ringing the BQ bell and laughing away. As Craig mentioned, it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes showing up and running with people to make some really great friends. This is the guy that's, again, I've been in Dallas less than 4 years, and I've got some of the greatest friends I've ever made through the group in the last 4 years because of running. So just a Scott Mannis story, one of many, but I could embarrass him with a few more, but that's probably one that just the kind of people that's in our group. Scott's one of them, for example.
Love that, Andy. That's really, you bring that out. Good to run with the community. Just over time, you really start building some friendships. And Chet, let's go to you, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. So I mainly go to the Wednesday and Saturday runs, and then I also will go to the Sunday runs when we loop the lake, depending if I have more, like if I'm training.
I'm going to stop you there. I
interested.
saw you today, and you were going the opposite direction of where the group was going. I was like, what's going on, Chet? Come on.
I only ran 4 miles this morning. I was going out
Okay.
to brunch, so I didn't have time. But usually, if I'm like need more miles, I always do the Sunday loop. But it hasn't been since like the spring. But yeah, so Wednesday.
Just
in the
messing with you,
evening-
bud.
Yeah, I was leaving. I was like, I think I'm gonna see everyone. So I saw you, and then I saw Nick a few minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Saturdays as well. I usually run 6 a.m. if I'm training for something or not. It's just the go-to these days.
I remember when I first met you, I was running with Nick. It's probably a Sunday or something. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if you were running with us or whatever, ran into or whatever. And so that was probably 6 months ago or something like that. I don't know if you remember, but it was my first time meeting you.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a Sunday. Any particular, have you made some good friends since you've been here? And everybody else has. So, would love to hear some friend stories, runners.
Yeah. And I have the same story as Craig. I think after a few times, I was just sitting in Taco Joy, and then Natalie and Josh were going to watch. Natalie says the Loon at noon. So within a few times, already got invited in there. And then Craig has inspired me to get more into golf. We've encouraged each other to go down that path. So him and I golf pretty regularly now. So it's been my go-to community now.
And
Vivian, have you met anybody that you've connected with?
I love people. So
Yeah.
I will talk to anybody that will talk to me. I'm lucky that I get to see you and Andy on Wednesdays. So
You're
that
pretty lucky. That's true.
I am the lucky one.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I know on Wednesday mornings, those hills are tough, but seeing Andy whip my butt in front of me and telling him, like, come on, keep going, that's motivating. Saturdays, too, there's a bigger crowd because it's the weekend. People have the time. Yeah, I have friends there. I'm thinking of Juan and Maria, who I frequently run with, just a whole bunch of people. And then
I love
once inside Taco Joint at the bar, you end up talking to people that you didn't get a run with that day, but still showed up.
Yeah. And again, we've said this before, it really truly builds community. And that's what I love is, look, I go and talk to everybody. And so for me, it's pretty easy the Pegasus group is there. I'll start talking to them and I'll start talking to everybody from our group and just trying to build those relationships. My only biggest opportunity is people's names. Like I'll see somebody, like today I saw somebody that I know, but I forgot their name. I was like, hey, and he goes, Nathan. Oh yeah. But that's the opportunity is me trying to remember people's names. So sometimes, what did I miss, Andy? I know some things that you might want to bring up and that we might have missed.
Yeah. So I guess so my running week, let me capstone that then, if you like. But before I explain my running week with the group, I want to let everybody who's listening to this know that this is the more extreme end of the spectrum. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there are people that run with us that don't really run any races. There are people that only do 5K. There are people that do 12, 14-minute miles. So please don't let what I'm about to say put anybody off. Maybe it will encourage a few people. I don't know. But my running week is like all of them. So in the last year, I ran 2,800 miles, which was a PR for me. I ran 4 marathons, including 3 majors. I paced the 4-hour group with DRC at Dallas last year. So I've had an awesome year after building the last 3 or 4. One of the things I love about the group is my week. And I call it a virtual. It's not a virtual, it's an actual marathon schedule every week. And you can do as much or as little as this as you like. But if you were putting a marathon schedule together, you would basically do what we do in the weeks. On, as you mentioned, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we don't really have much organized, but 80% of your runs should be easy runs anyway in a marathon schedule. So on our Facebook page, people will throw, hey, I'm doing 6 miles tomorrow at BSC or
Chick Cove is what that means, by the way.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. So people all the time on those 3 days just post ad hoc things. So you can always find somebody to run with and on those 3 days. But basically, Tuesday track, and we show up, we do a couple of miles of warm up, and then we're at the track for an hour and a quarter, and people come and do whatever they like. But if Nick and I are running there, we generally fall into the same stupid old schedule, pyramid intervals and what have you, which is really great because on the track you should suffer, and suffering alone is really hard. But suffering and taking the piss out of a friend of yours who's suffering slightly more than you are is a lot of fun. That gets us through track. So again, if you were putting a schedule to you would do track once a week. We do that Tuesday, and there's safety in numbers, and it's posted on our Facebook page. Hills pay the bills, as Vivian said. Nick developed that, I think, from a previous run, but it's 2 laps of 4 miles, and they go on the side of a subdivision that's half a mile up, half a mile down, half a mile up, half a mile down. It adds up to 2. And some people show up and do a pre-loop. Some of the crazier Pegasus people that run with us. Some people do 3 loops on a Wednesday. Some people knock out 12 plus miles on a Wednesday. But you show up and do whatever you like. Some people show up and just do the top half of the loops and do an easier section. But again, all of our runs are variable. Thursdays, I often pick up a run with Pegasus and do their tempo run at 5 a.m., which is a lot of fun because we overlap from time to time. And then Saturday, it just depends where I am on my marathon schedule. We show up, we do 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. I've had friends at WRRC, again, like I said with Scott, Alan Shelburne, for example, and Andrew Hudson Baldwin, when I was BQ training one Saturday, I just showed up randomly and said, hey, I'll run with you guys for as far as you're going to go, but I might just tack some miles on at the end because I need 24 today.
Yeah.
Andrew and Scott said, I'll do 24 with you because we've got people with that sort of experience and ability in the group.
You'll
so
never find me doing 24 with you. But anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, so I got drilled into that. So Saturdays are really cool, as the guys have said. It's our main social group. It's a bigger group. We combine sometimes, and we end it with some tailgating and or some tacos in taco joint afterwards. It's awesome. And then often through those groups, you hook up with other people to run in the week and so on, and that's great. And then on Sunday, either Nick or I will generally host our Sunday recovery loop, which is a lake loop. So typically a 9-mile loop. Some people do the bigger one at 10.
Yeah.
Some people show up for 6 and just do the first 3 out and back. And so you do what you need to do, but it's based around a lake loop, which is nice to do at sunrise on Sunday, which is nice to do. We stop every 3 miles for water and a chat and to let people catch up. So a variety of paces is not a problem to accommodate. Sometimes afterwards we go for breakfast if people have time or a coffee. And it's easy. It's as long as we're moving forward, it counts as a pace. So anywhere from, some people do a tempo or whatever if they've missed another run, but generally it's like a 9:30, 10-minute mile kind of gig, plus or minus. And again, we stop every 3 miles, so it doesn't matter because we catch up with people and so on. So doing all of that.
By the way, lately,
yeah.
Pepe has been coming. I don't know if
Has he?
you guys know Pepe Deer Runner, and he's there on Sundays, and he'll bring a little, let's just call it a bar of treats.
Yeah. Oh, that's an extra.
Not always, but lately.
That's a great incentive. So I guess my point, Chris, was, as you've seen even from the committee here, that whether you're doing 15, 20 miles as a hobby runner, there's a few of these runs that you can just drop into, and you will always be welcome, and we'll always find a way to make it work. On Saturdays, by the way, we also take turns at dropping water coolers off just to help them out as well. But if, like me, and sadly I'm generally tailgating Nick, if you're on a quest to do 60, 70 miles a week, guess what? You can still do that with our group because you'll be running with people that have done all 50 states. You'll be running with people that have got 6 stars. You'll be running with people that have done rock 100s. You'll be running with people that have run internationally. And as a result of that, as a result of my WRRC running week with the people that I run with, I've been to Tokyo early this year. I went to Berlin last year, and I tell no lie, but you often find that somebody creates like a little mini page. In Berlin, I knew 28 people that were going, 22 of which were from the group, and we had We found a pub and we had a big party in Berlin afterwards. In Tokyo, there was a dozen or more people that I knew just happened to be going to Tokyo as well. But when you have that sort of community, I would guess that you could go to any marathon, any major marathon anywhere in the US, and there'll probably be one or two at least, maybe 20 or 30 people that you know from the group that also will just by happenstance be there. So it's a support group, not just in Dallas, but it can be a support group wherever you're on. In literally, we blocked out a whole bar in Berlin and we got very drunk. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I love how you brought in that piece of the community. And it's so important because it's true. And that's how WRRC is. And that's what we want to continue to bring to everyone. And so before we wrap up, is there anything else that we missed or that you guys were like, oh my God? Go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, Andy just mentioned, he said safety in numbers. I, as a woman, as a female, do not feel comfortable running by myself. We live in a very large city, and I just feel more comfortable running with people, but also in the winter months when it's dark, I do like to run with men. And I feel safer when I have you all in my group. Nobody's going to try to kidnap me when Craig is right next to me. But I do see women posting in Facebook groups asking, where could I run safely? And there really is no good answer. I don't think there are too many places that you could run safely alone. So I always selfishly say, come run with WRRC. But if not, then run with another group, but don't run alone. And on Father's Day, I posted a thank you in our WRRC group, just thanking the men in the group for being with us and keeping us safe. At least I feel safer.
Yeah, I think Chet, by the way, is pretty buff too, so he could probably take care of some people too, just in case. So
that's only what Josh photoshops.
I'm sure all of you would protect me.
For sure. Great. Anything else? Go ahead, Craig.
A couple of his longer runs, like 20, 22 miles sometimes. And we were also talking before the recording started, one of his long runs happened like right after moving to Dallas and found White Rock and ran like through downtown and everything. And to me, that brings up a couple interesting things of like just some of the longer routes that we do go through downtown and come back up through Katy Trail. Just a great way to get to know the city on foot. And when I was doing some of those training for the Dallas Marathon last December, just having that extended time with people like Erasmo, especially, is one of my good friends at the group, and then Luigi, we did so many training runs together that we became really close friends, and they actually live pretty close to me. So I'll do some kind of outside of WRRC runs with them, like, hey, you want to go run like 2 miles tomorrow morning? Do stuff like that, hang out. I got dinner with Erasmo a couple nights ago. The club has given me a great view of the city. It's given me friends that I have great conversations with on those runs. And then just the last point I forgot to mention is on those runs, we do have great conversation, but then there's plenty of time to run silently too. I know some people don't like to necessarily talk, or maybe you're breathing too hard to be able to talk. There's just something for everyone on these runs. So even if you're running with somebody, even if you're not talking, just having somebody side by side with you going through the same thing has been a really wonderful thing for me.
It's awesome.
Yeah, actually, I do want to mention one other thing. So White Rock Running Co. for me have made a number of my dreams come true. Obviously, Boston being one of them. I think we mentioned on that last podcast, sorry, Chris, that my Facebook profile used to be X-Tub of Blubber Chasing the Unicorn, was my Facebook handle for a decade. But when I started running, I literally could not run 100 yards without stopping and throwing up at the side of the road. And I won't do that story again. We've done that before, but I eventually could run 2 miles without throwing up. So that's where I started from. And so this whole thing of not just qualifying for Boston, I knew I was going to qualify for Boston before I crossed the start line, because of running with people that were more experienced with me, that just gave me the confidence to execute the plan. It's a negative split. For those of you that haven't run a marathon, the confidence to negative split is a huge watershed to cross, and it's the only way that you'll succeed. But it's really scary to leave something in the tank for the end of a 26-mile run. You get that too. But one of my life dreams was to pace a 4-hour marathon group, because I remember crying when I broke 4 hours in Chicago. I didn't do it in London, I did it in Chicago, because for me, that was my definition of being quite a real runner. And I remember it was a huge personal milestone. And it doesn't matter what your milestone is, because The marathon's only 26.2 miles because of the 1908 Olympics in the UK. Everybody's marathon is like everybody's Everest. It's as long as you want it to be. But for me, being able to actually give back and confidently pace a 4-hour group was a dream I had. But I spent 10 years trying to qualify for Boston and failing horribly. And so I could never waste a marathon on pacing. And when I finally got that done, the other thing that the group helped me get was, and something, by the way, for viewers of this, WRRC, a huge group, 5,000 people, members plus members on Facebook. We've been around a long time. So we know a lot of the other groups and the community in Dallas. So we have a lot of contacts with, say, for example, the Dallas Marathon Organizing Committee. A lot of us go to Logan for back, the CEO of the event. So we're able to get some of our more experienced runners into pacing gigs. And I managed to get in the 4-hour group for the BMW Dallas Marathon next year. And I paced a 4-hour group. And of all the marathons that I've run, and yes, the 6 stars were great. And I can tell you about every step of my BQ run and every mile and what I was feeling. I can remember it like just as though it was yesterday. But in my heart, that 4-hour run with a pacing stick, helping some new marathon runners, first-time marathon runners, people trying to PR their 4-hour dream. Taking a dozen of those marathon runners across the finish line in Dallas in 3 hours, 59 and 55 seconds or better was just the highlight of my running career, if I'm being honest. I would not have done that without this group. So again, we do all sorts of things, but one of those things, if you're interested in it, is pacing. It's a great day. But that's my 4-hour story. I've paced other 2-hour marathons, half marathons and stuff, but my getting the BQ unlocked for me doing my 6 stars, but it also unlocked me chilling out a little bit and pacing a marathon. And it was, again, of all the marathons I've run, it's by far my best experience. So just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, I remember the last marathon I did. I cried because I was hurting so bad and I couldn't wait till I was done, and I just never did one again. And I was like, screw this. So I've done a lot of half marathons and pacing and things like that. Chet, anything on your end?
The only thing I was going to add is, in addition to community, it also the club just kind of changed my perspective on running. I think the most I had done was like 40 some miles in a week. And then I'd only met someone that had done maybe 1 or 2 marathons. I come here and the first run, I think I met Nick, and he was like, I've run like 30, 40 marathons, done ultra marathons. And I was like, thinking he was running like 70, 80 miles a week. And I was like, I will never get there. And then a few months later, I'm running 67 miles a week. And it just completely changed my perspective of running in a very short time. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
I love that. It's a great story. Guys, thank you so much for coming on and telling the story of WRRC and what it meant to you. And we hope to bring some of that joy to the others within Dallas and the community. And make sure, everyone, that you come. If you go to White Rock Running Co-op Facebook, we have a whole group of like 6,000, not 5,000 people. In that group, we have an events page that we put all the events, and so you can't get lost. You'll know exactly where to go. And we also have an Instagram account. It's the WRRC. So check us out. We're always posting. We're always doing stuff there, and we're always getting together, and that's what makes this place so special. We love it. Thank you for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our Substack newsletter at it's dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. Again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you all for coming. I'm Chris Detzel, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Chris. Awesome.